This episode features owner and creator of BlackWing Farms, Meg Harrison. Do you have a dachshund and have questions on topics like training and nutrition? Do you want a dachshund and need help finding a good breeder or locating a great rescue? Did you have a dachshund growing up and want to share some heartwarming or funny stories? Then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Lori Leduc. Welcome to the Wiener Dog Lover Podcast, the place to be for all things dachshund. Welcome back, Wiener Dog Lovers. I've wanted to do this podcast for such a long time, and now I'm so grateful that you're all enjoying it. I'm having a great time speaking with everyone on my favorite topic, dachshunds. I want to make sure that I'm covering topics that you want to hear. You can always send me an email, bark@wienerdoglover.com, and I'll try to get the topic covered. In today's episode, I'm speaking with Meg Harrison from BlackWing Farms. She's been working with flower essences for well over 25 years. Meg has worked with traumatized pets during the Southern California wildfires of 2003, and she helped out with displaced pets during Hurricane Katrina. And since then, her products have been requested from places like Best Friends Animal Society, the Gentle Barn, and the Humane Society of the U.S. Whether you're familiar with flower essences or never worked with them before, Meg shares some valuable experience with us today. I'm not a vet, and neither is Meg, and none of what we cover is meant to replace veterinary care. You should always work together with your primary veterinarian in the best interest of your pet. The audio with Meg's interview today isn't as perfect as I would like, but as I mentioned in my first episode, this is a learning curve, and all this technology is something that I'm still working out. The information that Meg has to share is really important, and it all comes out very clear. I'm sure you'll be happy with what she has to say, and I'll working on getting better quality in my audio. I hope you enjoy today's chat with Meg. Welcome, Meg, to the Wiener Dog Lover Podcast. It's nice to speak with you, and I want to thank you right up front for taking the time today to speak with us and our Wiener Dog friends about flower essences. Best place to start is you mentioned that you've been involved with flower essences for well over 40 years, and I know today that there's a lot of people that still don't know where they are, what they are, so can you just explain how you found them some 40 years ago?
Excellent. Yes. And thank you for having me on. I'm really excited. And I do love my dachshunds and my hounds. So let me say that 40 years ago, I was literally trying to help youth with addiction. And they were teenagers. Alcohol was their primary drug of choice. And they were incarcerated, in trouble, and runaways, chronic runaways. We were not making headway into their recovery as we were hoping. And so I started sprinkling flower essences on the floor of the common living room. We didn't see anything for a couple of days. We had to sprinkle it on the floor because 40 years ago, everything was preserved in brandy. And we're treating teenage alcoholics, so we couldn't quite do that, give it to them as we used to, sublingual, which means under the tongue. I could just sprinkle them throughout, and we had huge breakthroughs within days. We had children communicating. We had children trusting us. We had children that were willing to change and improve their lives. So again, you can hear my voice getting a little shaky, that it was so profound to be able to help these children in this way. And I've been a huge fan ever since.
Awesome. So then how did you transition into working with pets?
Okay, good question. A tragic happening. I was riding a horse, and this horse was a Mustang, an American Mustang, and I was in California, and I didn't know that I was being set up by the owner, that no one else had been successfully able to ride this Mustang other than the owner. So I took a dive. I literally took a dive and came off the horse, and I was a really good rider. I'd been a trainer for years and years. So I was a really good rider, but she unseated me. She got back to the barn before I did, about 45 minutes before I did. When I arrived, the woman was giving the horse something straight into her mouth from a glass pipette, little glass dropper, straight into the horse's mouth. And then as I appeared, straight into mine, and then straight into the horse, and then straight into mine. I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "My horse is getting flower essences for the trauma." I went, "Well, I use flower essences." And she said, "Yes, you do today." So the horse and I both got the same remedy of flower essences. And I never turned back again. I 100,000% sold on helping animals, helping those damaged, confused, frightened animals as much as I was helping those frightened, damaged youth.
So then, if someone was going to start looking to get into using flower essences, where would you think that they should start then?
I say play.
Pick out whether it's a blend or a individual essence and just give it a shot?
Absolutely. Because here's the deal. First, there's no negative side effects. None. And if they don't work, it means that there's something else going on within the system, within the body. There's something else going on, or we haven't used them properly or long enough. I can't speak to anybody else. So I created BlackWing Farms about 12 years ago when I started trading money for my blends. I worked for a very fancy racehorse barn in the United States. Found that these horses were not only winning, they were being treated well, they were digesting their food, they didn't mind traveling. All of these different things that would normally upset a thoroughbred. These horses that were on the blends were not. So back to starting, I would find, and again, we've got a fabulous website with a whole lot of information, blackwingfarms.com. Every one of my blends has the ingredients listed and why we use that particular flower.
The flower essences, is there any contraindications when using flower essences?
Oh, good question. Great question. No, it complements everything. So a lot of times these animals, by the time I get to see them, and let me say that in these last 25 years, actually in the last 15, we have been proven on 25 species. That means rabbits, pet rats, feral cats, Mustangs, beautiful progress with the Mustangs, all 25 different species. So back to your question. Proven as in successfully improving behavior.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
That's what this is all about, right? That's what this is all about. I work with behavior, and I want to one more time say that, yes, we complement everything that is going on in the animal's life that is positive. I've had people who have come to me and they say, well, I have a training problem with my dog. And I go, well, what do you do? And she said, well, every time she barks, I yell at her. Oh, that's not improving the situation. So anything that's positive, and again, a lot of the medication and pharmaceuticals, they're wonderful, they're necessary, they're needed for a period of time. A lot of them have side effects. So when I'm working with something like this that has no side effects, and let me say now how easy this is to make. Impatiens, rose, rock rose, sweet pea, all these different things. Dandelion, one of my favorites. All these things are very, very accessible in our own environment. And all we have to do is take like a couple of dandelion flower tops, float them in water, sit them in the sun, 20 minutes to 4 hours, strain it, and that's your flower essence, period.
And what would dandelion essence be used for?
I love it. Dandelion essence is for cheerful optimism. That's the quick way that I can describe it. Because, again, the dandelion, which is the bane of everybody's garden, for instance, when we step on it, we don't crush it. We don't snap it at the stem or stalk. It bounces right back up with that cheery, bright yellow, and we're like, what, are you kidding me? Well, this is that cheery optimism bouncing back. We can pull it up. If we don't get that entire tap root, which is normally longer than what we see of the flower and the stem, it's going to proliferate and come back again and again and again. Happier, stronger, right? Yeah.
That every time I step on a dandelion from here on out.
Yes, exactly. Cheery optimism. I love dandelion because that's so much of what we want for our dogs, right? Yeah.
Find me some dandelion. Back then to... in terms of working with our dachshunds or our Wiener dogs, suggestions in terms of some of the common behavior problems that a lot of pet parents will see, such as, with dachshunds, we all know that their first behavior is barking, always. What would you suggest a pet parent might do to work with their dachshund?
Here's an interesting question. I'm going to ask you to expound on that because there's much more behind the barking. So tell me more. We've got barking. We have, what else do we have? I want to say insolent, but you know what I mean by that. Friendly disagreement. Tell me what else you see.
In terms of why they're barking?
In terms of those barking households, what else is going on?
Well, generally they're busy, or there's a lot of noise going on in the background for the humans.
Yeah.
Sound or not a lot of consistency with the barking.
Okay.
So those are some of the common things I guess you would see if you took a look from looking in the window.
Yes. And that's perfect. Looking in the window because, oh my God, I've got something that we use. I call it doorbell drama.
Oh, there you go.
The doorbell rings and everybody is up for grabs and the barking and sometimes the screaming even. So what I use, here's the combo, here's the blend that I would use for that. And again, I can mention some of these specific flowers and why they're blended for this particular, and we also call it window road rage. Window road rage. They get up on the furniture and just scream and bark who's ever passing by, right? And in the car, those little, those bodies just seem to stretch up to the window, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they can, get a better view and make more noise. Here's the ingredient. We were talking earlier, little man syndrome, little dog syndrome. Here again, this is a wonderful combo for this. What we use arnica for restlessness, star tulip for grounding, rock rose for bravery, star of Bethlehem for emotional shock, clematis for positive focus, cherry plum for self-control, and homeopathic arnica to help negative memories. Each of those ingredients go into the whole behavior. Does that make sense?
Yep, all combination of it makes sense, absolutely.
Yeah. So what we're doing here is go ahead.
Sorry, remind me, what was the name of that blend?
The name of the blend is Drama Trauma. Drama-Trauma. Oh my God, it's amazing. It's our number one seller at BlackWing Farms. It's just amazing. And this came through as a result of being in a barn one day with Jack Russells and feral cats and a horseshoer and a trainer and young students. And it was chaos. And we just used to, the kids would call it Maggie's Blend. And they'd say, go into the tack room and get Maggie's Blend because the Jack Russells just had a fight. Or the horse is not behaving for the horseshoer. The feral cats are fighting and attacking the children. So at the end of one day, everything that could go wrong in a barn between horses, dogs, and cats did. And so at the end of the day, we said, boy, what a day of drama and trauma.
There you go. Perfect.
There you go. It's a fabulous blend. It really, really is. And I do things a little differently than other practitioners. For instance, we doubled the Star of Bethlehem in here. And people say that doesn't matter in a flower essence, whether you use 2 dropperfuls or 1. I kind of think it does, even if we as making it are just setting the intention to help that emotional shock. Because a lot of times people will look at these dogs that are going crazy in the living room or at the front door in the car. You can look at them. They're not in their body. Their eyes are glassed over.
They've gone beyond.
Exactly. So we're dealing with a form of shock. So as then we go in, and the only thing that kind of gets their attention sometimes is if we yell louder than they are, or we kind of stomp our foot. That doesn't change the behavior the next time. Okay.
I think I'm not sure if I read it or heard you make a quote, but you referred to them, to flower essences, as emotional room deodorizer. Can you maybe explain what that means?
Yes. Okay, good one. Oh, this is excellent. So because as we know, then the room is still heightened by emotion. And I'm just saying everybody knows this. It's we're all still a little jittery. Well, there's actually a physical reason for that. We've released a lot of adrenaline and cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and it's leaked into our brains, and we're reacting and acting out of that cortisol overload. So there's a physical reason for it too. But for me, all I want to deal with is the mind and emotion, and settle that down. Just settle down and listen and don't get so upset. So again, spraying it in the room helps everybody. That's the other reason I chose flower essences. It helps the family. So, and especially when we have children in the house, because the children also react highly as the dogs become reactive.
Because I've used flower essences for years, but I've not so much used it in the air as much as, like you say, rubbing it on pads or ears or putting it in the mouth or in the water. So this is a nice gentle way to get everybody involved. I like it.
Absolutely, yes. And the other thing that I do is I love to I spray my hands, rub them together. They can be almost dry, and then just pet the dog so that I know that I am much, much more relaxed as I approach the dog. And it's just wonderful. And it doesn't need to be near the face or the eyes or the nose. This is not olfactory. This is not, again, sublingual. And I think one of the things that's been so great for me is that I have been able to use these in emergency situations a lot. I think that's where I also got, not only stay safe, but also sometimes we can't even approach the animals. I've worked with captured Mustangs in Nevada, Utah, California, and that we can't even approach these horses as they've been rounded up. They're not going to eat or drink, so all we can do is spray the air. Same thing with dogs that are highly aggressive. We can't touch them. They're not going to eat or drink because they're too upset. So we just spray the air, the floor, whatever. And the essences work equally as well as if we had administered them sublingual. Yeah.
Can you share any stories that you might have in working with dachshunds and the flower essences?
Oh my gosh. Years ago in San Diego, they had something called the Wiener Schnitzel Wiener races. And I think they still have it going. It was a huge event, hundreds and hundreds of dachshunds. And then they had races. So it wasn't only just bringing and showing off your pet or showcasing your dachshund rescue, but it was a fun day for dachshunds, and not everybody, but quite a few had costumes on and, tutus and hats and glasses. It was absolutely, I had a blast. I'd never seen so many dachshunds together. Well, they had these races, and first of all, the races were a riot because there was no high walls going from start to finish. So the hounds could do anything they wanted. And the primary reward giver is what I call it, is at the other end, calling them. These dachshunds were all over. They were all over. They were rough and tumble. They'd stop and play. They'd stop and sniff. And very few of them went just straight on down the line. Well, as we played with this, and we gave a couple of them essences, and again, we just sprayed our hands and gently petted. The dog was so much more focused going into the race that it didn't get sidetracked. I know. So that's why I work so well with agility dogs, and dachshunds are great at agility, great at it. If the height of the obstacles are just, they love it. They just have a little problem sometimes keeping focus. So that's what we do. I've got something here. Here's what we would use for the focus. Okay. We'd use chestnut bud for cooperation, and we would use oak for consistency, and we would use, like I said, too, the clematis for focus. Now, I'm self-taught, so I don't know if it's clematis or clematis, but it's a beautiful flower. And so, but that's great for focus because it's a really beautiful flower that is got multi-levels to the coloring in it, and it moves in the wind. And when you look at it, it's a little hard to focus on, and so it's good for focus. everything has a correspondence in nature. We have a reason for why we use these things. At any rate, so yeah, that's wonderful. That's just wonderful for focus and especially for them. One last thing I would like to say about the Wiener Schnitzel Wiener races, and you brought it up before, is about these rescued dogs that are possibly damaged from puppy mills. I so worry about that because I was introduced to two dogs. These women foster these dogs, and they had little, I want to call them go-karts. They weren't quite go-karts, but they were carts that allowed them to move. And there were two dogs from one litter, and between the two dogs, they didn't have 8 legs. They only had 4.5.
Yeah, that's too bad.
And yeah, and when I look at this, and I think about this, then I think of the other dogs that maybe where we can't see the damage, that it's mental and emotional. The other thing is what I've learned from all these years of studying, because this is all I do. I study animal behavior and flower essences. After all these years, I've realized that so many of these animals are happy. They're doing the best they can. But what I do know is that we can help the vast majority, no matter how damaged we think they are. We just have to try a little bit more. We have to try a little bit longer with the flower essences.
I love that. I use that often, that just to try another way. Just because it worked with one doesn't mean it'll work with another. I agree with that.
Exactly, and that's perfect because that's a dachshund in the house.
Yeah.
You say no to a dachshund, he's going to go try another way. Right? What do you mean I can't come? Yeah. What do you mean I can't come back inside? I'm going to go around to the front and bark till you let me in, or what? Find a different way. Right. I thought that was only Jack Russell's, but no. That's why they bark so much sometimes, is because then the owner caves. We cave. And so the barking is not as important to me as the S word in dog training, and that's spoiled. So I go into a home and somebody goes, "Oh, we can't get him to stop barking," and I want to just say, "Well, then you be quiet." Because, the dialogue keeps going between, the barking and and then more barking and be quiet. And yes, so I sometimes just want to tell the people, you go sit and you be quiet and you see if it doesn't settle down so much faster.
That's great. You have a book, Helping Humans of One Animal at a Time.
Yes.
Maybe you could tell us
yes.
bit about that so anybody interested would be able to.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that I wrote because flower essences are so accessible to us. They can be our first line of defense. Absolutely. And I see a lot of animals on chemicals that are not necessary, that, again, like I said, possibly have some side effects. So when I saw flower essences, aromatherapy, and homeopathics becoming much more popular, I kind of wanted to get out ahead of the stampede and put out some good information. And oils, I think, again, I love essential oils. I do use them. I do have a product line, but we have to remember that those olfactory systems of the dog are literally 150,000 times better than ours. So when we use one drop of an oil, that dog is getting 150,000% more than we are. So yeah, and especially hounds. They need those noses and those long ears that trap the scent when they've got their nose to the ground. That's what long ears, and that's one of the reasons that they have them. And again, I also think, oh my gosh, I think that dachshunds for scent work, meaning search and rescue, huge, vastly important. The only reason I think they're not used is because they can't travel as long or as fast as other dogs. And therapy dogs, I think they're very underused. I think that dachshunds make fabulous medical alert dogs, therapy dogs. They're fabulous for who they are. Fabulous. Yeah.
Where can people go to get your book?
Oh, thank you. Either our website, blackwingfarms.com, and it's also on Amazon. So, and we blog a lot on the site, and so a lot of the stories are already there, and a lot of the ideas, the different ways to use these essences are on there. And I think that's the other thing. Play. We need to play. This is not rocket science. Dr. Bach, who brought the therapy to us in the 30s, Dr. Bach said, this is not for the science. This is not for science, the scientific mind at all. It's for the layperson. And we get to be our own first line of defense for emotional and mental well-being.
In respecting time frame here, what is the best way for people to reach out to you and to either send you an email or to look at your website?
Oh, thanks.
Look at ordering some of the amazing products that you've discussed here today.
Oh, thank you. Yes. BlackWing Farms.com. It's the color black, a singular wing and a plural farms.com. And we always ship within one day. No one calls us on a good day. Okay. No one calls us because everything's fine and sweetness light and, the dog's well behaved. We always ship within one day. I am completely accessible. So I am Meg at blackwingfarms.com for an email, or my phone number. It's out there. It's 760-728-9900. And on the website, you will find all kinds of different things. And Google BlackWing Farms. There's a lot of Blackwing out there, but Google BlackWing Farms and you will see a whole lot of other information about us.
That's great. Now, is there anything else that you would like to share that I maybe haven't touched upon?
Not at all that I can think of, other than I really just want everybody that's listening to play with these ideas. Enjoy your dogs. And if there's something that's not working, yes, give me a call and let's get that all straightened out. And I don't care even if it is damage from like a puppy mill or something like that, these ingrained patterns of learning. That's what I am all about. And that's what the last 400,000 animals that I've treated, that's what that's all about too.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to let us end here on that note. Thank you very much again for giving us all of your expertise that we can share with our fellow wiener dog lovers, and hopefully be able to hear from some of them in terms of getting some of your products out there. I was introduced to flower essences a few years ago when I got my blind deaf German Shepherd, Chance. I've used them in a variety of situations ever since. Today, I learned of some new flowers to try on my wiener dogs that may just give us an advantage during our upcoming wiener dog racing season. Please check out BlackWing Farms products and let us know what you think. I'm sure Meg would also love your feedback. If you have a wiener dog story, an event, or a topic you'd like to see us cover, send an email, bark@wienerdoglover.com. Follow us on Instagram, wiener_dog_lover_, or Twitter @lovingwienerdog, or find us on Facebook, Wiener Dog Lover. Never miss an episode. Head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time we put out a new podcast. I'd also be grateful if you would leave us a review. Until next time, Wiener Dog lovers, this is Lori, Sheba, and the Wieners signing off.